The inauguration of Donald Trump was more than just a political event, it felt like a family reunion. Standing tall at 6'7", 18-year-old Barron Trump became the unexpected star of the day. While his father took the oath of office and made promises to the nation, all eyes kept drifting to Barron. With his effortless charm, quiet confidence, and a little encouragement from his dad, Barron stole the spotlight in ways no one expected. He didn't try too hard. He didn't need to. Dressed in a long overcoat, his hair neatly slicked back, Barron had a natural presence that demanded attention. Whether he was standing next to his mother Melania, towering over his older siblings, or shaking hands with political rivals, people couldn't stop watching him. One of the most talked about moments was when Barron stepped forward to shake hands with outgoing President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. The tension in the room was thick, but Barron's polite gesture seemed to ease it. People watched as Biden gave a small nod, and Kamala Harris, always known for her sharp expressions, softened for a brief moment. That handshake wasn't just a formality, it was a statement. Social media lit up, calling it a moment of class and a lesson in grace. But it wasn't just his interactions with political figures that got people talking. Barron also shared a few words with some of the biggest names in business, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. Standing among these billionaires, Barron didn't seem out of place. Instead, he looked right at home, nodding, smiling, and engaging in conversation with the ease of someone who had grown up surrounded by power and influence. Some even joked that it wouldn't be long before Barron had his own billion-dollar empire. Donald Trump, never one to miss an opportunity, made sure to shine the spotlight on his son. At one point during his speech, he gestured to Barron, calling him a very special guy, and joking that everyone's heard of him. The crowd cheered, and Barron simply nodded, giving a small wave before sitting back down. Despite his towering height, he had a calm, almost reserved demeanor that made him stand out even more. People couldn't help but wonder, what was it about Barron that made him so captivating? Was it his height, his quiet confidence, or was it the way he carried himself, effortlessly blending into the high-profile crowd yet standing apart at the same time? Whatever it was, it left a lasting impression. The buzz didn't stop at the inauguration. Across social media, discussions about Barron exploded. Posts flooded in, with many saying that he had the makings of a future president. Some pointed out how he had already played a key role in his father's campaign, helping Donald Trump connect with younger voters. Reports said Barron was the one who encouraged his father to appear on popular podcasts, including Joe Rogan's, Theo Von's, and Lex Fridman's. That move, some experts believed, was a game-changer in reaching younger demographics. His influence didn't go unnoticed by his father. During rallies, Donald Trump often mentioned Barron, calling him his boy and crediting him for smart ideas that helped shape the campaign. Whether it was social media strategies or choosing the right platforms to reach the youth, Barron had a keen understanding of what worked and what didn't. Some close to the Trump campaign even said Barron's advice was spot on more times than not. But beyond politics, there was something else about Barron that fascinated people: his style. Whether it was the long overcoat at the inauguration, his signature slicked-back hair, or the effortlessly cool way he carried himself, Barron was making waves in the fashion world too. Fans compared his look to old-school Hollywood stars, while others admired his understated classic approach. Fashion experts started weighing in, saying Barron had the potential to become a style icon in his own right. His family, of course, was no stranger to making fashion statements. Melania Trump, dressed in a sharply cut suit paired with spiked heels and a dramatic hat, turned heads with her signature style. Ivanka Trump, in an emerald green skirt with a matching beret, looked every bit the fashion-forward figure she had always been. Yet despite all the carefully curated looks around him, Barron's simple yet striking appearance seemed to steal the show. And it wasn't just his looks that were drawing comparisons. Some people started saying Barron reminded them of his father in his younger years, tall, confident, and full of potential. Others believed he had a more modern touch, combining the Trump family's signature presence with a quieter, more thoughtful approach. As the inauguration ceremony continued, Barron's presence remained a constant topic of conversation. Whether he was seen standing behind his father as he signed executive orders, sitting next to his mother during speeches, or casually chatting with guests, Barron had an effortless way of fitting into the scene without trying too hard. He wasn't loud, he wasn't flashy, yet somehow he was the most interesting person in the room. Many people started to wonder, what's next for Barron Trump? As an 18-year-old enrolled at New York University, his immediate future seemed focused on education. But with his growing popularity and natural charm, some couldn't help but speculate if politics might be in his future. But for now, Barron seemed content to play his role quietly, standing by his father's side and supporting him in his way. And now, the big question: how did Barron become this person? How did he step out of the shadow of his famous father and siblings to create his own presence? There's more to his story than meets the eye. Barron Trump grew up in a world most people can only dream of. But despite the luxury, the fame, and the power surrounding him, he was mostly kept away from the public eye. His mother, Melania Trump, made sure of that. While his older siblings, Ivanka, Don Jr., and Eric, were often in front of cameras, Barron was different. He stayed in the background, focused on his studies and personal interests. Barron was born on March 20, 2006, just a year after Donald and Melania got married. His birth surprised Donald, but in the end he was happy to welcome another child into his growing family. Melania, who had always wanted to be a mother, took an active role in raising Barron. While Donald focused on business and politics, Melania stayed by Barron's side, making sure he had a normal childhood, at least as normal as it could be in a family like the Trumps. During his early years, Barron lived in Trump Tower in New York City. His life was filled with everything you would expect: lavish penthouses, private schools, and a team of people catering to his every need. But despite all of this, Melania made sure he followed a routine. He attended Columbia Grammar and Preparatory School, one of the most prestigious schools in Manhattan. Barron's life was structured, with a strong focus on education, manners, and discipline. Things changed when Donald Trump won the presidency in 2016. While the rest of the family packed their bags and headed to Washington, Melania and Barron stayed behind in New York. Melania wanted Barron to finish his school year without disruption. It wasn't until the summer of 2017 that they finally moved into the White House. Barron was just 11 years old at the time, and leaving behind his friends and familiar surroundings wasn't easy. Donald later admitted that Barron was nervous about the move. He loved his life in New York, and stepping into the White House was a big adjustment. But Melania helped him settle in, making sure he had everything he needed. They even chose a different school for him, St. Andrew's Episcopal School in Maryland, breaking the tradition of past first families who had sent their children to Sidwell Friends School. At the White House, Barron had to adapt quickly. Life was different. There were constant security details, endless media attention, and the pressure of being the president's son. But Melania did her best to shield him. She was fiercely protective, always reminding people that Barron was just a child and deserved privacy. Despite her efforts, Barron couldn't completely escape the spotlight. People were always curious about him, analyzing his every move and expression. Growing up in the White House wasn't always easy. Barron faced criticism and online attacks, but some surprising voices came to his defense. Chelsea Clinton, who had experienced life as a first daughter herself, urged people to leave Barron alone. Others, like Jenna Bush Hager, spoke out about how unfair it was to target him simply because of his father. These moments of support helped, but it didn't change the fact that Barron's life was far from ordinary. After Donald's presidency ended in 2021, the family moved to Florida, settling at their Mar-a-Lago estate. Barron enrolled at Oxbridge Academy, a private school in Palm Beach. It was a fresh start, but the attention followed him. Despite being out of Washington, people still wanted to know what Barron was up to. Yet he remained focused on his studies and personal interests, staying mostly out of the public eye. Even during Donald's 2024 presidential campaign, Barron kept a low profile. He had the chance to take on a bigger role, but he chose not to. When Florida Republicans asked him to be a delegate at the Republican National Convention, he declined, citing prior commitments. Melania made the announcement, and it was clear that Barron was still carefully choosing how much public exposure he wanted. However, he did step out for his father's campaign rally in July 2024. Standing on stage next to his family, Barron's presence sparked interest once again. People couldn't help but talk about how much he had grown and how comfortable he seemed in the public eye. When Donald won the election later that year, Barron was there for the victory speech, standing tall and composed. His father made sure to acknowledge him, thanking all his children for their support. In September 2024, Barron started a new chapter by enrolling at New York University. He returned to the city where he had spent most of his childhood, but this time as an independent young adult. While he still had strong ties to his family, Barron was beginning to carve his own path. His decision to study in New York showed that he was ready to step into the next phase of his life while staying close to the people and places he knew best. But what about his personal life? People have always been curious about Barron's relationships, and for good reason. With his towering height, quiet charm, and famous last name, Barron has drawn plenty of attention, especially from those hoping to know more about his romantic life. Despite his reserved nature and lack of social media presence, some details about his dating history have surfaced over the years. One name that often comes up is Maddie, a young woman who claimed to be Barron's first girlfriend. In a resurfaced TikTok video, Maddie shared that she and Barron attended the same private school in New York and dated while they were classmates. She even posted pictures of their time together, including a throwback school photo from Columbia Grammar and Preparatory School on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. In the video, she recalled how their entire class got the once-in-a-lifetime chance to visit the White House when Donald Trump became president. According to Maddie, their relationship ended a few months after they graduated from middle school. The reason? Long distance. While Barron's family moved to Washington, D.C., Maddie stayed behind in New York. Later, Barron transferred to Oxbridge Academy in Palm Beach, Florida, which put even more miles between them. Despite the breakup, Maddie had nothing but kind words for Barron, calling him the nicest in the comments of her video. Although this teenage romance faded with time, it gave people a rare look into Barron's early relationships. Unlike his older siblings, who have made headlines for their high-profile relationships and marriages, Barron has remained relatively low-key when it comes to dating. His focus has primarily been on school and family, and his mother's protective nature has played a big role in keeping his private life under wraps. Even now, as a college student at NYU, Barron is still a bit of a mystery. Sources say he is popular among his peers, especially with the ladies. His striking height, now reportedly reaching 6 feet 9 inches, along with his quiet and polite demeanor, has made him stand out on campus. Some have described him as tall and handsome, while others admire his calm, reserved personality. Despite his popularity, he has managed to avoid the kind of public attention that usually comes with being a Trump. Despite his new college life, Barron remained connected to the White House. Melania revealed in interviews that Barron would have a room ready whenever he wanted to visit. She believed in giving him the freedom to make his own choices, always supporting him but never forcing him into anything. As she put it, parents guide their children, but eventually they have to let them find their way. Through all the ups and downs, Barron stayed true to himself. He was known for being polite, reserved, and thoughtful. Those who knew him described him as smart and well-spoken, with a deep interest in sports, technology, and business. While some speculated that he might follow in his father's footsteps one day, Barron seemed content focusing on his own interests for now. His relationship with his father remained strong. Donald often spoke about Barron with pride, calling him a special young man. Even though Barron wasn't always in the spotlight, it was clear that his father valued his opinions. He had played a quiet but important role in shaping some of Donald's campaign strategies, especially when it came to reaching younger audiences through social media and podcasts. But there's more to Barron than just politics. Unlike his older siblings, Barron has stayed mostly out of the business and media world. Instead, he's focused on things that interest him personally. One thing that stands out about Barron is his ability to speak multiple languages. Thanks to his mother, Melania, he grew up speaking both English and Slovenian. As a little boy, he would often call his grandmother and chat with her in Slovenian, something Melania encouraged from an early age. She believed that speaking more than one language was a great skill, though she also agreed with Donald that English should always come first when in public. Melania's influence on Barron's life has been strong from the beginning. Throughout her career, first as a model and later as the First Lady, she has always been known for keeping a low profile. And when it came to Barron, she was even more protective. She made sure he had a private childhood, keeping him away from unnecessary public appearances and media attention. Even after Donald left office in 2021, Melania remained focused on her son, always making sure he had a stable and supportive environment. People close to the family have often said that Melania's world revolves around Barron. She has very few close friends outside of family, and she spends most of her time ensuring that Barron has everything he needs. Her parents, who lived with the Trumps at Mar-a-Lago, also played a big role in raising him. His grandmother, Amalia, was especially close to him, often cooking his favorite meals and making sure he felt connected to his Slovenian roots. When Amalia passed away in early 2024, it was a difficult time for Barron and Melania. Sources said Melania worried about how the growing political tensions in the country would affect her son. Even though Barron had grown up surrounded by fame, she always tried to keep his life as normal as possible. But with his father back in the White House, it was clear that normal wouldn't come easy. Still, Barron continued to find his way. His height became a topic of discussion in 2024 when Donald proudly announced that his son was now 6'7". Donald even joked that Barron should play basketball, though Barron had other interests. He preferred soccer, something he had been passionate about since he was young. Despite his father's playful suggestions, Barron stayed true to what he loved. While Barron focused on his studies, Melania continued to support him from behind the scenes. She remained a constant presence in his life, offering advice and guidance whenever he needed it. Those close to the family say that she and Barron talk often, discussing everything from school to life in the public eye. As Barron moves forward, the question remains, what's next for him? Will he continue to stay away from the political spotlight, or will he eventually take on a larger role in the Trump legacy? For now, he seems content focusing on his education and enjoying life as a college student. But with his father in the White House and the world watching, his future is bound to be an interesting one. One thing is certain, Barron Trump has grown into a young man who knows exactly who he is. Whether it's staying true to his interests, standing by his family, or navigating life under the constant eye of the media, Barron has shown that he's more than just the president's son. He's his own person, with his own path to follow. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed learning about Barron Trump, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. And let us know in the comments, what do you think is next for Barron Trump?